Hello and welcome to Beth of Fresh Air. Beth here. It's November 21st, 2025. Nice to be here. I look forward to this all week, and it's actually really fun to prepare for because I get to geek out. That's one of my favorite sports altogether. Another one of my favorite sports, before we get started, I was going to talk about backwards walking. I might be able to relate it to today's topic, but in the meantime, come and say hello in the chat if you're out there. Feel free to share this out. I think it's getting shadow banned. It's possible. So hello, Maya. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Nice to have guests. Nice to have people to actually exchange with, because that's why I do this live, right? I could just talk at the camera and satisfy myself and hearing myself speak, which, I think that's also good, but I'd rather have an exchange with people. It seems like more fun. So I was going to tell a little story about one of the things that I like to do when I'm getting exercise, which is a very important part of health. Hello, Mary Benyon. Nice to see you. Welcome. Glad you can make it. And so we've had a nice long fall here. I think it's completely normal in terms of the weather. We've had very abnormal, often very truncated falls. And this one has just gone on and on and on. And we're getting a lot of sunshine despite the, chemtrailing and that kind of thing. So if it's a really bright sunny morning, I'm typically going to shoot myself off into nature somewhere, go to a park. There's a park pretty close by, which I love. Been visiting the Canada geese. They're amazing. I love those little creatures. And there's just like a handful left, barely any. Last week when I went, some of them were actually stuck in the ice and were trying to claw their way out. I really wanted to send them a stick and pull them out. But I think they've got smart enough now to take off and be gone south, which is where we should all go. But we don't. We might do that a little bit, but not as much as we should. And then so in the park today, I have this thing about wanting to walk into the sun. So the park is a circle. And that means that you're only going to be walking into the sun for a certain amount of time. So I employ a technique for, my overall health and a little bit of fun and a little bit of strangeness. The rebel in me doesn't mind this. And I walk backwards. So I let the sun see my face and my eyes, and I walk backwards. And I become fairly confident about backwards walking, so confident that 2 days in a row I've done this exact thing now so I can see the sun 2 days in a row. Yesterday I hit a truck. It's like hit and run, I tell you. I'm like, boom, like this. I was like, whoa, okay, should have looked behind me a little more, but I was trucking backwards, having a good run. Well, today I do the same thing. I thought, okay, but be smart. Don't do it on the road this time because that truck might be moving next time. This one was parked stationary. Hello, Tharkit K9E. Nice to have you here. Welcome. And so there was a little bit of a parking lot off to the side, and it was in the sun, and there was a good run for the backwards walking where I didn't have to continuously look over my shoulder. So I'm walking and I'm trekking and I'm feeling the sun on my face and feeling really good. Well, I hit a curb. Kaboom! She goes over the curb. Luckily, I didn't crack my head on anything. Cement on the other side, just a little tiny bit of an injury. I don't feel any more to my wrists when I landed. But I thought, wow, in all my backwards walking days, I have never actually fallen down. So I bounced back up, and there's a couple of people they're giving me the thumbs up. They thought that was fun. Personally, I don't think there's anything more funny than people falling down. I don't know what that is. The inner 4-year-old in me, put up your hand if you're also find some comedy in that. So yeah, I got to go back to looking over my shoulder. It turns out backwards walking is not the best. That reminds me of all the retrogrades that are going on now. I'm not an astrologer, but I did recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, had my reading done with Topher Gardner. That was actually really fun. I enjoyed that a lot. He is good. I picked up some excellent nuggets, and So you might want to try that. Hello, Mike New. Nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. And yeah, so today, this is another funny point that after I got off the live stream last week called Remember, I remembered all kinds of things that I would have liked to talk about that were relevant. There was no shortage of material for the last one. I think I made it nearly 2 hours or even 2 hours. And Topher is in Missouri, actually, as a matter of fact. Yeah, so he's in the same time zone, but way south where we should be. I think they're having a little festival there or something. I think that would be fun to go to. I have already made plans to go to Confluence. Any takers? We're going to have a little House of Free Will meeting up there. If anybody's not already a member of the House of Free Will and you'd like to join, then you're most welcome to apply. I still do it by application just to make sure that we end up with the right people in the House of Free Will. It's been an evolution. I'm thinking of doing a whole Beth of Fresh Air on the House of Free Will and the evolution over time and how that's happened somewhat accidentally. I created it at a time when we were, scared and looking desperately for solutions and in a kind of crisis place, which is not the best place to create from. That's creating from fear. I've made a few of those. Put up your hand if you've made any decisions in the last 6 years that have come from fear. And then you look back and you're like, oh, yeah, I did that. And maybe hard to undo or a little bit inconvenient to undo. That can happen. But yeah, so I jumped off the live stream last time and a whole bunch of new stuff downloaded. Not necessarily new, but memories, right? So it's kind of interesting how your memory can show up in bits and pieces, and that's always fun. So I thought I would come back, and I remembered at least 14 points that I think are relevant. I kind of did a deep dive into memory in general, a little bit of the science behind it. We're going to cover some Love Your Liver points. If there's any Love Your Liver peoples out there, if you're not already a Love Your Liver people, you should be. Watch my videos with Dr. Garrett Smith. And that continues to be a good path. I'm more than a year into it, a year and 2 months. I promised I would give it 3 years and a very good go with my health. So far, I'm actually having very good results and able to stand by it. So that's really good. And yeah, so I only scratched the surface in Remember Part 1, Episode 2. I'm sure we'll be just adding to scratching the surface, and there will always be more on the topic. And you love Garrett, but you're not in Love Your Liver yet. I hear you. Yeah. It's a really good course. I hear they've got a new website coming up, so that'll be interesting. And in the House of Free Will, we do have a group that is dedicated to Love Your Liver. So there's some people in there that are learning and going along, and we share ideas and recipes and potential troubleshooting that I've learned to do for myself. And I Love Your Liver. Yes, yes, and yes. That's the whole thing. They should have called the liver the heart. So yeah, the memory, we're going to scratch the surface. I'll keep remembering what I'm doing here. And so, what's the point of exploring how your own consciousness rolls into memory, right? We have a kind of direct, immediate experience, and then a certain amount of it would show up in our memory, and some of it doesn't as well. Perhaps it only shows up in unconscious memories, or is it gone is there some stuff that's gone forever? We're going to talk about a lot of different things, past lives, the Aakaashik records, anything. But personally, I find this interesting as all heck. And there's a certain psychedelia to it when you really examine our inner workings. It's pretty fascinating. And I'm someone who has, my son is nearly 19. He's very independent. He doesn't need me, so I don't have dependents. My parents are gone. And so I've got some time on my hands to do my work. I mean, of course, I feel very busy, but But the time that I do have that's downtime, I've been really exploring. This is ongoing. This is for many, many years. I started my spiritual journey way the heck back, 10 or more years before I was diagnosed with cancer in 99. So more like 89, 85 kind of thing. So I've been doing this for a while, and it's fascinating how it actually gets more interesting as I go. Why? Because the subject is incredibly deep. This is something that I've noticed since I was fighting for my life with cancer, because then I really had the time, and it was my full-time job, working on finding the roots inside myself that were cooperating with not good stuff and my own death. And so, yeah, the subject's very deep. I knew for a fact that after seeing the depth of the inner scape that we actually are housing, if you could call it that, that it was going to take a long time for people that didn't have all of that extra time. So that's how I set my sights to making this work available for people in a more fast way, that they don't have to get as caught up or knocked down as I did. And hello, Katarn Kinson M3M. Yo, ma'am, you have a doubt? Undoubt. And free Diddy praise Jesus. Maybe these are, I don't know if you're real people or not. Could be bots. The internet has become a kind of slew of bots, and it's made it much less interesting, which in a way is a huge advantage, because when the black boxes become less interesting, then your inner life might become more interesting. And that's, of course, where you're not going to be wasting your time getting to know yourself, creating some level of mastery, so you're not taken by surprise by your own thoughts, by your own feelings, by your own archetypal patterns and natures. And yeah, so we're going to talk about, for example, memory in the senses. This is something that I meant to talk about last time, how the five senses, if there are only five senses, I know this is a debatable fact now, that there could be many more than that. And I don't doubt it, but I haven't done a deep dive trying to unpack that or come to any real conclusions or be able to make any claims. But when it comes to the five senses that we're aware of, do you guys know which one is most associated with the memory? Which one is closest? We can, of course, see something and remember it. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm terrible with names, but I never forget a face, right? So then you're tapping into your visual cues, or what we think to be our visual cues. Some people have auditory memories where if they hear something, then they're more likely to be able to remember it. That's one of the reasons that you put out, say, as someone who does videos and writes and communicates on a regular basis, it is good to have a variety of different senses to come through, because some people are much more visual, some people are much more auditory. Interesting. That would be an obvious answer, Maya, but it's not the vision of the five senses. And hearing brings back very strong memories. Yeah, well, you look at the way that music has been used to give us memories. And isn't it strange how all of the music, say, that's piped in, we used to call it satellite music. I guess it's now internet music. When people used to actually choose music to listen to, that doesn't happen anymore. If you're in public, then they just, click on whatever subscription they have. And so much of it is retro. So much of it is actually bringing us back to a time when things were different. I'm going to talk about nostalgia as well, by the way. And the emotions and feelings, the like the felt sense in our the sense of touch is what I'm looking for there. That also is not closest to the memory, but yeah, they're of course all contributors to the memory. So the one that's closest to the memory of all is your sense of smell. Isn't that interesting? That that's the one that hooks up with your memory closely. Uh, they all interact with the emotions. The sense of touch also can be a memory kind of thing. They're all related, but it's actually the sense of smell that is the closest. So yeah, I know that's interesting, isn't it, Maya? And yeah, so then yeah, but when you look at it, like your nose is probably the most sensitive of all. I mean, if you get something in your eye compared to getting something in your nose, I don't know which is more important. It's interesting, like the nose is very related to breathing, of course. And if I just unpack this particular thing out loud, you're gonna guess the smell first. Yeah, yeah, Mike, that's what it is. So that's really interesting. And that brings us to all kinds of pre-verbal kind of memories where, the baby, oh, I just learned this little tidbit. I'm going to talk more about it, but that a baby can actually smell a mama's milk. Now I've known that because, I have memories of my son when I was nursing him, and he'd be close enough to me to smell the milk. And then he'd start like, oh, there's something good in there. Let's go. Right. But I didn't know what they're actually smelling is a molecule called glutamate. And so we're going to talk about glutamate and the memory in a lot more detail, but the babies smell it. So this is very important. And it turns out mama's milk is absolutely loaded with glutamate. So that's really fun. And you wonder if someone, let's see. You wonder if someone loses their sense of smell, does it mean they're at a point of their lives they don't want to remember? Well, fascinating, because the COVIDs caused a reduction or a loss of smell. Isn't that fascinating? Because one of the strategies of our controllers is to wipe our memories. So we don't remember that Canada had Canadians in it, or we don't remember how nice it used to be to travel and go through airports and security gates. I actually was so nostalgic when I saw an old clip from the 70s. And I have memories of traveling, maybe was it the 70s, probably more like the 80s. And so traveling was just, there was just this like little cordon thing and one guy, and there might have been scanners or there might not have been. I'm pretty sure they had x-rays back then. It's possible. But yeah, that was nice when that was like that. But say my son has no memory of that whatsoever. And yeah, there's just regarding your question there, Mary, does it mean they're at a point of their lives when they don't want to remember? Yeah, it's possible, but I'm thinking more like damage. The damage of toxicity over time. And that's essentially, if there's an explanation that I would just intuitively come to why the COVIDs caused a loss of smell, it's not because it's a boogeyman virus. It is a boogeyman, not what we thought it was, but toxicity kills the senses. For example, vitamin A ends up lodged in your eyes. Your eyes are one of the detox pathways for vitamin A. The reason they propagated carrots as a main staple food in the first place was to kill people's night vision, especially in World War II. And so this whole area of your sinuses, your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your ears, are a detox pathway. When your liver fails, and when your kidneys fail, and when your skin fails, then your body's going to be looking for other ways out with the poison. And so we all know, this is detox season. A lot of people are down with the goof, or whatever you down with the detox. Our bodies know a long winter's coming. Now's the time to start getting some shit out. And then one of the things that Garrett says is when the poison comes in, it harms you, and when the poison comes out, it harms you too. So you all know when you're spewing the fluids, it's not a particularly good thing, but that's definitely a way that your sinuses clear themselves out. And yeah, I don't know, I guess each person, you'd have to see individually what their inner motives are. And yeah, it is interesting not wanting to remember. We have a strong desire not to remember certain things. We want to remember the things we like. We don't want to remember the things that caused us pain. And so then, yeah, a lot of people do spend a lot of psychic energy trying to block certain things out of their memory. And yeah, radiation, a kind of toxicity, right? It's a similar way that your body deals with particle toxicity. It deals with radial toxicity, if I'm making words up here. And so, yeah, that can be equally as damaging. I was lucky never to receive radiation other than from x-rays. CT scans, it turns out, contain more than the amount of 200 x-rays per scan. I had a ton of those. I'm amazed I wasn't more damaged, although who knows what was damaging me at that time. It was just all damaged land over here. And yeah, so the memory and the senses, you think about, this is kind of a weird example, but how people put Coke up their nose. They don't put it in their, well, I don't know, do they put it in their eyes? They don't really put it in their mouth. But somehow the nose, right? Like it's going right to the brain. Is the nose having more access to that blood-brain barrier? Thought on organic baby oil. I don't know what is in baby oil. If we go off onto that topic right now, I don't know if, is that mineral oil, which possibly could be good. There's magnesium oil. I would by far use that, but I don't know about on a baby. I can't give any recommendation. Oil in the body. I started actually making my own body products because most of them are full of poisons and toxins and even natural ones. I was using a lot of calendula at a time, but it turns out that's super high in vitamin A. So I started making my own. I have a good recipe now. Make my own lip balms and make my own face cream and body cream. And I hear that as you detox, your skin doesn't need it. The reason that your skin is dry is because it's trying to let go of toxins. That means that it's shedding more often. I know there's certain parts of my face that have really taken the detox on, and that skin turns over really often and can look really weird if I don't use some kind of moisturizer in the short term. So yeah. Another one of the things that I wanted to talk about was the gross inaccuracy of the memory. And I don't know if you're like me, but I've lived long enough now to have checked a lot of memories with a lot of people. What comes to the forefront are boyfriends, and that's often where memory can come head to head, because in less close relationships, you might not have bumped up against the discordant memories. You might just go off with your different memories and never really discover that you had different memories about how things turned out. It's usually around some kind of a conflict. Who do you get into conflicts with is people you are most close to, which is sort of strange and good at the same time, because that gives the greatest opportunities for personal development and evolution. Not to say everybody takes those opportunities by any stretch of the imagination, but the memory is not always correct by any means. It's filtering through all of the five senses that we just talked about. It's more than that. It's filtering through the emotions. So when you see through an emotion, things look really different, right? Imagine looking at say when somebody dies, you can look through the emotion of grief, or you can look through the emotion way higher on the scale in anger, or you might be up the scale in courage, and that death will appear different to you. You will experience it in a different way. Now, that's just going up and down the emotional scale. It's not really transformation. You're not just trying to raise your frequency. This is my bandwagon. I always get on. And yeah, so having arguments over, oh, I said this and you said that, and why did you do that? And I didn't do that. And the whole phenomena of gaslighting, by the way, that's really, wow. That's such a It's one of the biggest crimes is gaslighting. Although I heard um, gossiping is even higher of a sin than that. But the gaslighting, wow! When somebody says that they didn't do something or say something that you really know they really did, like you took it in, you took it as fact when they said it to you, and then how did they get out of it like a real man? No, they pretend that they didn't say that. They hope that you think you're crazy, that you think you have a bad memory. So those kind of toxic relationships are really toxic for your memory too, because the memory is inaccurate. Why? Because there's a certain fluid nature to it, and I'll go more into that as well. But yeah, there have been several times, not even just once or twice, but where someone was able to show me, because I hope over the years I have grown and become less in that need to be right, and to get the upper hand and be right. Being right is a form of pride. And so I saw, like, oh wow, things were different than I had remembered them. And it's a good and humbling moment when you just kind of come back into your own place and oh, okay, I get that. I talked last time about actually checking memories with people. Well, I have the memory that you said or did this. Is that true? Did I misremember? Did I misinterpret? So never mind interpretation on top of an actual memory, then you've got two things. And so yeah, it's one of those things. I was maybe going to talk a little bit about Mandela effect today. I'm not an expert, really. All I've heard about Mandela effect are the examples. So the lion didn't lay down with the lamb according to our current Bibles. I did just learn that even in the Hebrew Bible, it has been changed, or it never was that. I don't know. I'm of course a kind of skeptic in that. And then what do you do with it? It, like, have we slipped dimensions and timelines? I do feel like I slipped timelines not too long ago. My my LCD clock changed itself. It stole an hour from me. I felt like I lost sleep in the process. I was definitely resentful of that. And then when the actual time change came back, my clock is on time again. It shouldn't be. It should be an hour out, right? It's a manual clock. You can't change it, not even just by accidentally hitting a button. It's not like that. It's more complicated. I actually had to get my son to do it, and I tried hard. So yeah, that timeline thing. It's possible. It is possible. I've been listening to a lot of Joel Schaefer's talks these days. He's going to be coming on for a podcast. I'm going to be going on his channel in December. And he's saying that this might not be new to anyone, but he's saying there are multiple timelines going on at the same time, and they might be more fluid than we think. Are we aware of maybe moving between them? I doubt it. Maybe some are more than others. But it's good just to remember that your memory isn't as accurate as you might think. It's coming through a whole lot of filters. And hello, Scott. Good. Nice to see you. It's twisted. It's like every cop and every other ego freak. Oh, well, that's not related to the topic, but maybe I did say something that's related to that. Hello, Ashton Alwine. Welcome. Howdy. You came to drop a like. You watched my video with Sarah Raging Tomato. Nice. I'm so glad that now see we're making an association of memory here and relationship. I have some Mennonite background. That's not Hutterite, by the way. That's Mennonite. It's different. And one of the things that Mennonites do when they meet each other is they quickly try to find out what their common ancestry is, and are they related in some way. This happened to me recently with someone who I have yet to meet in person. But you want to go back and you want to see, and possibly related, do we hold common ancestry, meaning do we hold common memory? I'm definitely going to be talking about ancestral memory, as well as a subject that I missed the last time. And hello, IA and IAAA, our Alabash 1685. How did I do on your name? Our Yabash. And Mike's saying Topher mentions an interesting Mandela, the entire direction of his entire direction of his travel reverses while on a school bus as a child one day. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so like a personal Mandela effect kind of thing where you're actually going backwards. Does my walking backwards have anything to do with that? I'm falling down backwards. Hello, Jackie K. Nice to see you. Never too late. Luckily, these are recorded and you can always watch the beginning again. And I think you might want to because it's been fun. And yeah, so it doesn't mean don't trust your memory. I think it means like, what's the bottom line to that? Okay, so the memory is grossly inaccurate. What's the bottom line? Is check your memory. What else? You know, if you go into mistrusting your memory, this is different. So I look at these two qualities of trust and mistrust as a kind of pendulum. So people go back and forth. I want to trust my memory. I don't trust my memory. I want to trust my memory, or I do trust my memory. I don't trust my memory. And I think both of those are wrong, because the quality of trust is not, let's say the memory is not qualified for trust or mistrust. Both of those will cause you trouble. Trust has, to me, a very special place that I have decided never to trust people, but I've also decided not to mistrust people. And I put my trust in a special place. Can you guys guess where that is? So rather than trusting your memory, taking it as data, right? What you saw is data. What you heard is data. What you felt is data. What you smelled is data. Those kind of things. Like when you get really close to somebody who's had a lot of garlic, oh boy, that one, you can, that recently happened to me, and I did have a long-standing memory of that stupid garlic smell. Like if I tried hard right now, I could probably evoke it. And Maya wins the prize. Yes, exactly. Trust is for God. And that's a problematic word, but we have to use some word. This is the place where we can reliably put the trust. You could also mistrust, but this is different. This is the kind of trust that isn't on a pendulum and it doesn't swing back and forth looking for a place to call home. Again, the child archetype, which often has come up in these first 6 episodes of Beth of Fresh Air. So I'm up to 6. And one of the things that I was relating to memory is the fact that we don't need to remember a bunch of stuff. And I would love your help here in the chat here right now to think about, what do we no longer need to remember because of automations, because of AI, because of, enough programming in our world that we, people, this has been forever, but people don't have to internally remember to wake up in the morning at certain times. They can set an alarm so that they can relax that faculty. Personally, I don't relax when I've got an alarm on, because my consciousness is aware that that alarm is going to go off, and it keeps me semi-alert all night. So I'm extremely fortunate in that I don't need to set an alarm, and I allow myself, because I was an insomniac for many, many years. Now it's it's about 6,000% better. There's the odd sleepless night, but for the most part, I'm sleeping so well, and I don't wake up to an alarm. I wake up when I feel refreshed. And so that's a real luxury, but we've lost that ability. That's, possibly, or we don't need to remember that anymore. How about basic math? Has anybody forgotten how to do basic math? If you don't do it, you lose it, right? It's a muscle. It's a skill to be able to work with numbers. And so, basic math, basic conversions. We don't need to remember a recipe anymore because you've got it, in digital format. I must have made black banana muffins, I don't know, like 60 times already. But do I have to open that recipe every single time? I do, because I know my memory will mangle recipes, especially if I want to, double them up or do anything different to it, or even if it's going to be the same. So I think I did have one batch where I did it by memory, and I got the baking soda and one of the other ingredients backwards. So I ended up with way too much baking soda, which really ruins muffins. And I'm happy to share my recipe. It's a really good one. There's no sugar in it. It's just made with bananas and apples and spelt flour and oats. It's really good. I keep experimenting with it to try to get it so perfect. But yeah, what else do we need to remember anymore? Phone numbers, right? That there used to be a day where if you had to write it down and then you had to memorize it. If it was someone you wanted to call often, you often committed it to memory. Important, to remember being grilled as a child. And what's your phone number? What's your address? And so that was like an early thing to get your own phone number. I remember my childhood phone number, 339-4360. Let's see if I could get my grandma's phone number, 222-6190. Why do I still have those phone numbers? They don't even exist anymore. I can't call them. And but I still remember them. Now, if you have children with phones, my son has had phones earlier because he always spent time at his dad's, and I didn't want to be out of touch. And the first thing I did was memorize his phone number. The worst tragic thing that could happen would be that I depend on this black box for his phone number, and then if I can't reach him, then that would be tragic. That may be a wrong time. And Mary, you said we don't need to remember every little event when someone did us wrong. Right. That's another subject. That's for the sake of grievances and grudges, I'm definitely going to talk about more. Keeps us in victim mode. Perhaps you misunderstood your question. Okay, I didn't ask it very well. It's the things in our life that we no longer, because of technology, because especially with AI, that we no longer have to make any effort to remember anymore. So things like phone numbers, basic grammar and spelling, you guys. Is anybody becoming a much worse speller? This last year in particular has probably taken me almost over the edge of, I don't know, just like inability to spell, because I've turned into this 3-finger typer. I'm starting to teach this finger that it's okay to type again. It seems like it might be okay with it. But now I have a muscle memory of leaving this finger out of everything. And then, so what have I relied on? The functions that finish your words and your sentences for you. And what did they call it? Anticipatory typing or something like that. And then, so you definitely, it's been correcting my spelling mistakes as I go. So if you type fast enough, you have no idea if you spelled the word correctly or not, because even when you look back, it's just automatically been corrected. So yeah, I know for a fact that my skills at spelling and grammar have gone down because of autocorrect, Jackie. Exactly. So we no longer need to commit those kind of things to memory. Yeah, our early millennials and prior remembering phone numbers. Oh, only early millennials and prior. Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's passe now. That would probably be laughable even. And okay, got it. For me, it's navigation back in the day. Oh, that's a good one, Mary. Yes. Where you used to have to use your brain to navigate. And personally, I have the worst spatial memory ever. I might have been to someone's home multiple times in a row, or not in a row, but over the time, and I still have to ask them their address, and I still have to put it in the GPS. I might make it there. It might work out, but if I don't have time to lose, then I'm going to rely back on that GPS. And the funny part is that GPS doesn't always work. We used it extensively to drive from Kelowna to Edmonton to see a Peter Gabriel concert. It was amazing. And we relied on that GPS, and it was the worst. It got us into the backwoods really late. I think we were like 3.5 hours late, and just in time for the show, which was lucky because we planned to get there early. Luckily. And it just had us all over the place. I remember going to see my son in, where is it? I won't remember the name offhand. It's kind of like Fort White, but somewhere else that the geese spend time here in close to Winnipeg. And so I set the GPS. It got me into the middle of a farmer's field. Like, and I'm looking around going, oh, I bet this isn't it. Just doesn't look like it's it. So yeah, GPS has been hard on the memory. Hasn't helped. I worked on my sense of direction a lot, my spatial memory. And then so I became then wrong only half the time instead of 100% of the time. It turned out being wrong 100% of the time was more reliable, because if I felt like you should go that way, you should definitely go that way. Now that I'm only half wrong, I can't guess which half it is. So yeah. Yeah. Hello, choose the gold pill. Nice to see you. Computing made people mistake information for knowledge. Now you know why people believe in FE and other psyops. Yeah, that's a big debate. I wash my hands of completely. But yeah, information and knowledge, I agree, are definitely not the same thing. And you're chewing on some gold pills over there. That's interesting. I don't know the meaning of a gold pill. Don't forget to remember. I know, right? Exactly. Exactly. Now, and forgetting, is it just the absence of memory, or is there an actual action that is unique to forgetting? Maybe kind of what Mary was saying about that we don't want to remember and we're actively suppressing, we're actively forgetting. That is definitely possible. Suppression is a thing, and suppression and forgetting are basically the same. So yeah, is there anything else we don't need to do anymore? Even typing itself, which I think is a fantastic art. FE is flat Earth, by the way, Mary, which is a stupid name. I think that name is a psyop, because most of the people in that world have investigated enough to prove to themselves that we're not on a globe spinning millions of miles through space. But can they say beyond a shadow of a doubt what it actually is? No, that's a stupid claim. Nobody can prove that. So I think the movement and the name of the movement is absolutely psyoped. But that kind of research is good. Yeah, typing lost art. This is something now we can do talk to text, which I'm grateful for at times, because I can definitely get screen and keyboard fatigue, because most of my work comes through these machines. And so if I can just speak something that, say, is flowing in a inspired way, and maybe I don't have time to sit down, or I just don't want to, then I can just click the microphone button, speak it into text. And that's pretty good. I can imagine writing an entire book that way, right? But then the typing skills go down. So yeah, I don't know if we need to worry about that or not. Is that a good thing? And yeah, we're kind of looking at an AI takeover at this time. I haven't explored AI very much in my live streams, just because it seems really well covered. But is it like every single tool where it has the potential to take over? I have seen the unemployment rates recently are really, really bad. A lot of sectors right now are letting go of a lot of employees. Why? Because they've managed to automate certain processes, and it's just, what can you say? You can't hold it against the companies. Are they going to hold on to jobs that they actually don't need to fulfill anymore? And no business owner is going to create redundancy in their life, unless maybe in East India, that was a place where you would go in and there'd be like, at least 18 people to do the job of 2 people. And they didn't do very much, but they had a kind of philosophy of like having a whole bunch of people in there doing very little, and almost nothing gets done. Online shopping, yeah, you have to, exactly. You don't really have to go anywhere if you don't want to. The COVID days were proof of that. But and of course, like, all of that still exists, right? So you can still have things show up to your door. I'm the proud mama of, I don't have it yet, of a sauna blanket. I'm pretty excited. Back to the detox topic about I was trying to remember to sweat. And even when I remember to sweat, I don't really do it very well because if I use exercising as a way to sweat, unless it's genuinely like hot and humid, and then you naturally sweat, then that's glorious. I love that. I need to live in a hot, humid climate, apparently. But yeah, so the sweating's not easy. I have to exercise too hard. I'll cause myself a bile dump. If you don't know what that is, I'll feel sick and I'll sweat, but I won't feel good. And same with hot baths. I used to do a lot of really like too hot baths and then make myself sweat it out. That causes a bile dump too. I don't want that. I'm not trying to make myself feel ill. So I got a sauna blanket. It's infrared, low EMFs. It was like severely on sale. So if anybody's interested, you reach out to me on Telegram and ask me for a link on that. It was really good. And then they've got a discount on the discount. And so I'm pretty excited. But yeah, the online shopping has made us go less places. One of the things that is letting us do is see less people. I noticed that yesterday I didn't see anybody, not a buddy. No, there's that true. No, I did see a buddy because I went for a walk and I walked into a truck. So yes, no, I did see people yesterday. It's funny how I have the memory that I didn't. And yeah, AI is just a tool. Exactly, Mike. Only the meaningless jobs will be replaced. You could say that. You could say that. But, is it a meaningless job? I worked with a copywriter for a few weeks and incredibly talented guy because I just have got to the place of there's certain parts of writing in my work in my business in communication that I don't love. Like I would often rather stick a hot poker in my eye than sit down and write a nice email that's going to go out to almost 6,000 people. Like I just have a hard time doing that on a regular basis. And so I was working with a copywriter for a short time, incredibly expensive, way out of my pricing zone. And I couldn't afford it. His job is disappearing right now because AI will do all kinds of writing for you. And that's a really sad thing. So he's not his job isn't meaningless. He's skilled. He's done it for an entire lifetime to be able to charge what he charges. Same with graphic artists. Could be the same with photographers. Why do you need say a person like myself? Why would I need a whole bunch of new photos when I could just put new backgrounds behind old ones, or all of that kind of thing? Not to say that's strictly AI, but a lot of I know photographers are terrified right now. There's a lot of jobs that are becoming obsolete, and they're not meaningless, but I get it. There are some meaningless things. I remember they tried like a kind of AI version of a fast food restaurant way back in the day, and there's no people there. I think they do exist somewhere. They haven't really taken off. It didn't become a thing. The food was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, and I would never do it again. It's endemic in banking. It's rare to speak to a human anymore. I know. Yeah, same with the government. It's really hard to speak to a human. Are they even out there? They might not be. They might just be bots. That's a highly thing. Yeah, did I already cover this? Is they don't have to remember to move. Yeah, movement. Yeah, with a lot of convenience, and for sure, I'm a person that sets up my space that when I get to sit, I have everything at an arm's length, so I don't have to move continuously and break my focus and concentration. But movement is life. If you stop moving, you're getting close to death. One of the things that I take very seriously is your lymphatic system, because I had a cancer of the lymphatic system. And I didn't even know to call it this. It is affectionately nicknamed the sewage system of your body. No wonder that it gets sick, because it's really the front line for this sewer system. And so yeah, movement, that is the only way. It's the only fluid in your body that won't move itself. The blood will be, now it's controversial to say, pumped through your veins, and all of that kind of thing, but even your blood will depend on that. So personally, I take it very seriously. Movement is a thing, And whatever movement it is, flowy movement. Um, there's a school close by that has some workout equipment outside, like Four Season kind of stuff. So I'll go and maybe do bench presses. I hurt myself the other day doing that. Still feel that a little bit. And yeah, you literally have to remember. Some people set a timer for movement. Oh, been sitting here for 4 hours in a row. I watched some of the live streamers out there, and they sit incredibly long periods of time without even going to the bathroom to like move to go to the bathroom. And that's movement is life, and you can't expect to have good health without having regular movement in your life. And it doesn't need to be seriously athletic or long. Personally, if I get 30 minutes, minimum of 30 minutes a day of light cardio and movement and breath, then I feel good. And you love muscle memory. Yeah, muscle memory is really fun. It supersedes the need for your brain because your muscles already remember. I'm going to actually talk briefly about the other. There's cells in the body that also can be demonstrated to have memory. And no worries about the spelling mistakes. I don't mind. I'm not going to track you down. Hello, Kyrene. Nice to see you here. Your family and you built, remodeled, and improved housing. You grow food and hunt and process wild game. You're physically active almost every day, all day. You do believe that's the key to great health. That's amazing. And that's the natural life. That's what life would do. That's one of the things that I love about my summer is that it gives me opportunities where you don't call it exercise anymore. You're just biking to the store instead of driving to the store, and you're using your body. Now, this is next level when you're out in the wild and hunting and processing game. That sounds athletic to me. I don't know that I'd be able to. I might be able to process it. I don't know about killing. If I was forced, if I was hungry, I hear it's very much easier to kill an animal when you're hungry, by the way, which is a stark reality. And good for you, Kyrene. I'm glad you're naturally. Yeah, for example, in the summer, I work at a farm once a week on the weekends, and I don't need to exercise those days because we might be shoveling the manure for 6 hours, and we might be, pulling weeds. Although we've got those into a lot of. It's a lot easier now. I just pull weeds in the city here in my garden. And yeah, it's always physical labor, and the land itself, like even just to go from A to B, you're on a trek, and often using your body so beautifully that I always felt satisfied. I always felt exhausted when I left, physically exhausted, but so satisfied, never having any regret for putting the sweat equity into the land. I just love that. So yeah, lots of things we don't need to remember anymore. That means that we need to, I don't know, take some inventory and be mindful of what will you regret if you don't know how to do, like basic math. I don't know. That's a good one. I need to go back and remind myself around fractions. But right now I can just ask an AI. If I don't know what 0.375 of a teaspoon is, I can say, what fraction is that? So it's useful, but possibly risking loss. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was on a stream on the Love Your Liver network about 2 months ago that I was revisiting last night. And it's the effects of glutamates on the brain. As I mentioned, mother's milk is full of glutamates, pointing towards the assistance that is for the neural development of the child 9 months out of the womb. They say 9 months in the womb, 9 months on the womb, possibly because we needed a lot more time to cook, to develop and become robust enough for some chance of independence. Would be a long way down the road. It's not independence, but yeah, the brain food, we lack for brain food. There's a lot of people who walk around with brain fog, and they can't necessarily come up with the intelligence they need to do certain things, or they just feel mentally tired or mentally exhausted, or the work that requires their memory and their mental faculties, their cognition, makes them tired and they burn out on it. So you treated yourself to MSG today. Very nice, Mary. And so I was part of the control group. If there was, actually, I shouldn't overstate that. I was part of the experimental group in the Love Your Liver zone because I suffer a lot of copper toxicity, and MSG is a good one for that. So I was suggested to use it in confidence, kind of in secret, because if you don't know it already, MSG, I'm sure you know this, has been incredibly demonized in the literature over time. I think it's been since 1968 when they coined the term Chinese food syndrome. Why do I even remember that number? That's the year I was born, by the way. And it's kind of fun that I remember that, because I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. But that was the main shift when I started using some amount of MSG every day, which is 1 part sodium, and is it 2 parts glutamate? I don't know. I should know that. And then the biggest signs, the thing that shifted for me was much greater mental acuity and a greater memory. So things that I normally wouldn't remember or wouldn't even care to remember, or think that somebody all of a sudden was saying, "Oh yeah, who is that main character in Catcher in the Rye? Why do I know it's Holden?" I did read that book as a child in school. I never went back to it. I never really had any huge fascination with it. But why could I access his name Holden? Now I might be able to do crossword puzzles, which I could never do before. And so yeah, that's brain food right there. 80% glutamate and 20% sodium. Thank you. Yeah, so it's mostly glutamate. Exactly. Garrett was saying how the word monosodium glutamate is a stupid name because you don't say monosodium chloride for salt. You just say sodium chloride. So there's one sodium and 80% glutamates in there. I don't know the actual structure. I'd have to look at that. And so yeah, it turns out, I remember there was one night where I had been using the glutamate, the MSG, for maybe 2 weeks. And I went to reach for it and put it on my food. And I had this huge emotional response. I started crying. And I, at the same time, learned that one of my all-time favorite condiments that is still Love Your Liver friendly, which is tamari, which is fermented soy, which you shouldn't eat anything but the fermented version of that, by the way. And this big emotional outpouring, I'm starting to cry because I reached for the MSG, or what some people would consider to be the seasoning of their food, and I'm like, wow, what is this? And I just felt like my body had been starving for that, starving for glutamates, literally. And as you get into the Love Your Liver diet, if you're familiar with it, you let go of a lot of those glutamate kind of foods like cheese and tomatoes. And what are some of the bad ones? Potatoes are good to a point. They're loaded in glutamates, but it's not good to have them all the time because they're nightshades. And so my body is like, oh, with this glutamate, like, please bring it on. I OD'd on it. It is very possible to take too much. What does too much look like if you start to experiment with it is that it's part of your detox process. Glutamates you can't run without, or you can't detox without glutamates. Your body needs that for all kinds of things, including that. And then so as you get a lot of them, your body goes, oh, yay, it's a detox party. And you don't want a detox party. I don't anyway, personally. That's produced results that I don't like. It's okay, but that's suffering and that's downtime. And I need to feel good most of the time. That's become a standard. Feeling good is important. And so yeah, it's fun having a sharper brain. And I didn't consider myself a super slouch before, but now I'm noticing greater faculty than I had before, and that's fun. Niacin is also a good memory and brain food. It enhances blood flow and oxygen delivery, which the brain really needs. And it's been shown to reduce what's called amyloid plaque and neuronal dystrophy in Alzheimer's disease. That's just in mice, but apparently that's always a reliable kind of research source. And yeah, ultimately rescuing working memory deficits. So niacin is another really good one. Also very detoxing. So you don't just take this that I said it and Beth said to do this. You really need to research and gain the knowledge. I would do that with Garrett Smith and his live stream, Nutrition Detective. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of, I geeked out on the science last night, but it actually protects neurons from oxidative stress. All of our detox is oxidative. So the more poison you have, the more oxidation processes you're going to have running. And it's particularly the NAD, niacin, stimulates your body to create NAD, or it's a precursor. Yeah, it's a precursor of NAD. I can't tell you what that word means now, but it's about energy production and making ATP, if you know that word. So yeah, it's a kind of neuroprotection, brain protector substance. So that I've noticed less dramatically, but I've been on it for longer and small amounts. And yeah, just improving brain energy metabolism, neuroprotection, and cognitive function, including memory, of course. So those are good things. And let's see what I'm going to talk about next is yeah, I think I talked some about the emotions last time and how one of the reasons that it's very difficult to release emotions. And so, if you're angry and you try to let that go, you might have some success in suppressing it, literally just pushing it down, swallowing it, getting it out of your conscious mind. And then something will happen, someone will say something or do something, and it reminds you, and then whoa, that anger is just like, oh, okay, it's can't be contained any longer. I'm going to come up. That's why sometimes people will have a massive reaction to something small because they've got bottled up emotion from another time, and it's just kind of waiting for it to be released. Now, even that aside, if you decide that you actually want to detox your emotions and you decide to let go of emotions, it is problematic in a couple of ways. One is because, like I think Mary said earlier, the emotions and the memories are really tied together. And they have that, I talked about this last time, sort of sausage link effect, where one memory reminds you of another memory, reminds you of another memory, that's all loaded in this emotional data. And what complicates the crap out of that is that some people are not aware that your emotions are on an internal spiral. They are moving. One emotion easily turns into the other emotion, whether that's up the scale or down the scale. And so when you think you let go of anger and pride, for example, you may just have moved up to courage. And that sounds pretty good. And that's not like, not a bad thing. I'm never going to go like, what did you do? What's wrong with you? But that what people don't realize, the hidden part underneath it is the programming. So if you try to just let feelings go, then you're dealing with this moving target, and you might just be fooling yourself that you let them go. You can, but I will always say, if in the odd case when I would ask a client or a student to let a feeling go, I will always follow up with a question about the program. Because if you are brave enough to actually allow an emotion to release, then the program will be revealed underneath it. And so that's the part that really holds the memory. Now, once you get to it's fascinating because the emotions are intensively linked with the memories, but the programs are not intensively linked with the memories. The programs are memoryless. They're just pure pain, right? The worst pains of not surviving, of not being loved, not being in control, of not being connected and whole and one with self and our surroundings. Those are the biggest pains ever. But that's one of the beauties of doing the deprogramming work. Rather than just trying to wrestle with the memories that are loaded into the emotions, then if you go even deeper and you brave the sort of like mermaid dive, I've been reminded of mermaids lately, and you allow yourself to feel the pain of the program, then it has a massive advantage because it's not linked up with a whole bunch of memories, meaning you don't have a whole lot of content to just go, oh yeah, but it was their fault, and oh yeah, but or there was. They actually have to back out of the feeling of the program in order to access memory again, which can very much delay the process. So it becomes just between you and a program. Do I want to hold on to you, or would I rather be free? And so this is a really cool thing where, again, the emotions are so tied to the memories that it can be extremely difficult to let them go. But the programs, it's different for a different reason because of the intensity. But when that decision is clear and you really want freedom, and that's who I like to surround myself with, people who genuinely want freedom, although everyone feels that to be in a different way, then you can have success and a lot more speed in the process. And let's see, where are we? Yeah, so memories, with the emotions can literally become a kind of freeze frame. That's something that our memory registers something other than a moment in time. Like we flesh it out. We have a moment in time with our memory, say something bad happened to you as a child. We talked about that last time. And and then and then you capture it with your memory, and it's got a certain, all of the different charges that we talked about, and it can kind of freeze frame, and depending on where the memory is on the emotional scale, it can be down in the place that I would call apathy. It is where there's a kind of freeze. It's where things are very difficult to access. You can be numb from that place. That's very severe depression of your system into the lowest possible vibration of energy. And so memories can become frozen in that way and stored for the long term. And so this is something that it's easier than you think. It's not about wrestling with the numbness or trying to shock yourself or force yourself. Although I think those things, I was listening to somebody yesterday, and they said that you need that shock. What do you guys think? Do you need shock to grow? Or could we have other more gentle motives in the process? The shock can work. It worked on me. I got a scary diagnosis saying you're not going to survive. And it was shocking. It was like, whoa. It was so shocking that I stopped my whole life, that I quit my job, that I packed up my house and sold it to try to lighten up and be able to just take care of myself, never mind a house. And while we're waiting for anyone to answer that, do we need shock? I'll make a note of my question because sometimes I forget what I ask people. Do we need shock to grow, to remember to grow? And another MSG comment has been promoted as safe for humans by health organizations, including the US FDA, the World Health Organization, and the European Commission Scientific Committee. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. Choose the gold pill. Yeah, when you really look into the research, and I did it when I was in this experimental group because I had a paranoid moment and I went, you know what, here I am like every day eating this stuff, and I haven't myself researched it. I'm just taking it on the good word of the good doctor. And his word is good. I have not run into any problem with his word whatsoever, but it felt irresponsible. So I dove into PubMed and I started researching, and I actually found research that was debunking the Chinese food syndrome, and the original research they used to do that was full of holes, absolutely full of holes. And yep, so then, but I didn't know it had been promoted as safe. It is a regulation that if you include MSG in a food, you must label it. So that unfortunately will tell people like, oh, this isn't a good food, I'm not going to eat this. Now what they mostly put MSG in junk food so that you will get addicted to it. And it's not really addiction with the MSG. It's like you need that. That's a requirement. That's a like a, a basic nutrient that we either have or we will make at a lot of cost. And we get it in a lot of things, like including, like I said, meat and potatoes and cheese and tomatoes. But if you don't want those, then that's different. And but they don't have to label. I was learning this yesterday. They don't have to label things like uh, I think it's hydrolyzed yeast extract as a flavorant. Well, that actually is from MSG or has MSG in it. And so they found ways around labeling it, which turns out to be not a problem for us who know it's good for us. Hello, Rick Bonner. Really nice to see you around again. 2 of you here, 10 at the other site. Talk about being in 2 places at one time. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's really fun for me. And Mary said, I think most people wait for shock to make the major life changes, as many think that they are invincible. In other words, it won't happen to me until it does. Yes, this is a sad fact. This is kind of a platform that I have put myself on, saying like, hey, I fell down really big when I was 29. Wasn't the only time. There's been some fall downs since then, but that was like the big Maha fall down. And I like to use that as an example to let people know you don't have to face a life-threatening illness to shock you into doing the inner work. And so, yeah, but it'll happen. We all will get that shock. This is life. It's not a tiptoe through the tulips by any means. And shocks can be hugely traumatic, Maya. You prefer no shocks. Exactly. The shocks are, if you wait for the shocks, they're not called shocks for no reason. You don't know what's going to happen. It's unpredictable. It's no guarantees whatsoever. I was not guaranteed to survive. That I waited for a shock. I didn't know I was waiting for a shock. That was unconscious. So yeah, I also prefer no shocks. And it's one of the reasons that I will challenge myself and grow regardless of whether I have any outside motive to do that. I will dig the inner motive. This is the big subject that I'm working on right now, just how to teach people about visioning and creating from vision. There's something new coming up on the horizon in January, which you'll probably hear about sooner than that. MSG is in all kinds of processed foods, as it is a processed item. Normies should be smarter with the amount of MSG the average person intakes. Yeah, I don't think they have half a clue about it. And I have to be super judicious with this stuff. I literally can tolerate 1 or 2 pinches, and I mean like a little pinch with my finger. That's all I can do every day without getting shocked by detox symptoms, which become no shock when I OD. And you must take it with food, by the way. Anyway, don't rely on me for all your information. You need to go and do some research. The best 2.5 hours you're going to spend is on Nutrition Detective channel and their first episode on MSG. I'm hoping for the next one. They did promise with Kelsey, where she really geeks out on all the molecular stuff. I'm starting to love that. And I love learning from her because she seems to know just so much in that, or she does know so much in that arena. So yeah, we don't need shock. It is, you had an aha movement. The word shock is electrically charged, right? Right. And we humans run on electron transfers. So shocking us back on track. Yeah. And I guess that's on a scale. So there's the large shocks and there's the little shocks. And if you listen to the little shocks, the little wake up calls, I was describing something yesterday to Topher when he did the reading with me, a bad experience I had working with one of the truthers in this truth space, who ended up taking me for a lot of money that I thought we were doing a project together with, and then they bailed and just took the cash, which was lovely, and that was a shock to my system. But were there earlier signs? Were there earlier electrical warnings? Yes, there were. There absolutely were. And I didn't need to set myself up for such a big shock. I did make good on the shock, and I got to a pretty important place having done that, but I didn't need the big shock and the big loss to do it. So your point is very well taken, Mary. And yeah, MSG is best taken with meat in particular. That you want it with protein. You're probably not going to go wrong with putting it on beans. I hear a lot of people do that, but I hear with protein is the way to do it, and the protein foods have glutamates in them naturally as well. It makes good on your protein use. So if protein ever became scarce, which is a really sad thing to even think about, but it's possible in our world where they're psyoping the whole vegetarian thing. And if meat was extremely difficult to get, MSG is a protein extender. And that's in countries where they have limited amounts of protein foods. MSG helps your body to make better use of the protein. So that's super fun. I like that. And then you can stay smarter and remember more who you are, the most important thing of all. All right. So this was something I wanted to add, is that you have to actually remember something in order to be, well, I'm going to put this out as more of a question. Do you have to remember something in order to fear it? The first thing is that most fear is unconscious, whether that's the emotion fear or that's, like I was describing at the program level, the programmed fear, which is not really an emotion, but it is definitely the lack, the drain, um, the lack, the drain, it's all fear. And so something I noticed, kind of a sad example, but a very poignant example nonetheless. When my grandmother was aging and she was getting into her late 80s and 90s, she had a failing of her memory. And that's probably due to like massive accumulated toxicity over time. And there was one, like, a huge shout out to my grandma Martins, because she came to a point where she was so sick of taking multiple medications every single day, just popping all these pills, and it really didn't change anything. So she thought, you know what, I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm going to stop taking all of my pills, and if God wants to take me, then so be it. So she bravely stopped taking all of her medications. And guess what happened, you guys? What do you think came of that? And I'll just answer this. Yeah, remembering to trust God's source is paying attention to the small shocks. You got it. Yeah, we always get them. We get the little signs, before you get the big thing, you usually get the little thing or the string of little things, say with your health. Sometimes things come really out of the blue and there's no memory. And yes, Jackie K, she felt better and she did not die. Not for quite a long time. In fact, she probably seriously extended her life at that point. She was ready to go at 80. She lived to, I believe it was 92 or 93. And I think that was, a very big part of it. But one of the functions, and she didn't regain a lot of her memory in the process. Maybe it was too far gone at that point. But in losing her memory, she became a much happier person. Right? How sad is that? That without all of the bad memories, she was content. She was, not bothered. She was not worried. Worry was a really big part of her modus operandi. That's a lot of people have learned to love through worry. That if I love you, I will worry about you. Mamas and grandmas, and sometimes even way beyond that. Thank you, Jackie. And then, yeah, so when the memory was gone, so was a lot of the unhappiness. So that's fascinating that our memories are there. Now, it could be said that with all love and respect to my grandma, that the loss of her memory actually cut her off from a great deal of healing potential. Because do the memories really serve us? Like we talked about last time, how it's sort of like a menu when the memories are coming up saying, hey, is it my time to release? Is it my time to detox? Is it my time to come up and out? Could I be released, please? tired of being in here. I'm personifying them, giving them, as if their own independent voice, which they appear to have, but that's not the reality of it. It's just all you. And yeah, so then that's, I think it's the same way when people die, how they end up all high on morphine, fentanyl, and all of these drugs that make you utterly mindless. It kills the pain, but it really kills cognition. Try to tell anybody on morphine to get something done. It's not going to happen. And so the deathbed, I think, where it could be an incredibly productive healing time for the soul, I believe that's lost as soon as they are on those drugs. And I remember the day that my mom was prescribed fentanyl for the pain that she was in. And I saw it was the beginning of the end. It's instantly addictive. You don't get off fentanyl. And then, yeah, making your memories inaccessible in that time. You can't do what could be the most valuable work of your life. Now, I will say, do not wait for your deathbed to do that valuable work, because you're not guaranteed any time there. You don't know, right? It could be a sudden death. People all think they want a sudden death, but if you backed up, you went like, oh, could have used 5 minutes to heal or forgive or let something go. I could have used 5 minutes to, to tell someone I love them. I don't know, whatever the case is. Neither do you need to pray for long, prolonged, slow death, but I think that prayer for fast death might have some problems with it. And if you get proactive and you remember to do the work before you're faced with your death, then that's better. What if you got to your deathbed and it was all clean? Maybe you could go fast because you just literally don't need that time to heal. And hello, nice to see you. Welcome here to the channel. Glad to have you. It does help me if you feel to subscribe to the channel. This is where I host the King Hero's Journey. This is the King Hero channel. And this Beth of Fresh Air podcast is part of the King Hero channel. I was actually trying to decide, just as I go on a tangent right now, I was trying to decide if I really need to multi-stream. I'm live on Facebook. Well, Facebook turns around and deletes my videos every month. So is there really a purpose of being live on Facebook? Or YouTube, I think, is still worth pursuing. I know people hate YouTube, but it is where people are. That's where the people are. So I have to humbly go where there's people, and that's just the way it is. I like Rumble because it's a good backup. They have way too many ads, and I don't get paid for any of that, by the way. So if you get ads on my videos, I don't pay for any. I don't get paid at all. That's not my, I'm not benefiting, just in case you get mad at those ads. But it is a good backup that is, at this point, uncensored, and that's good. Go live on X. I'm lucky if I get one person on a live stream on X. They don't promote that. They don't push it out by any stretch of the imagination. I'm live on Vigilante TV, which is entirely private, Jeff Berwick's platform. And I shout out to you guys over there if you're seeing this. So yeah, I'm curious if I really need to have all of this multi-stream going on anymore. I might resort to Zoom, but it's not nearly as pretty. That's part of the problem, that I've learned to enjoy all of these little things that I can do, especially with guests. Anyway, that's a total aside. If you have any thoughts about it, let me know. And yeah, so you need to have a certain amount of memory in order to fear, and you need to actually have memories and the emotions around them in order to bring about the memory to do the healing work. And thank you, Mary. It is kind of fun for me, actually, because people don't have a clue what's going on in the back end in a live stream. I heard somebody was criticizing Sarah, saying that she doesn't do anything at her debates. Well, you have no idea what's going on. And she's got like a way bigger system, and I can see multiple screens, and she's doing this. I should probably have more than one screen to work on too, but it is it's a joy for me. I love it because I'm a born connector, and where there's exchange, there's life. That is, to me, makes life worth living. So yeah, I'm all for the multi multitasking, I guess is what you would call it. Some people say there's no such thing as multitasking. I think there is. By far, we talked about that last time. And I just thank you for that. Yeah, it is a job, but I love it. So that's good. I don't mind. And I have MSG on my side. So now this one I think we touched on last time around trauma-based mind control, but this is one very important thing that I think, a lot of us in the truth space have obviously been unfortunately privy to trauma-based mind control at a variety of different levels. I've been tracking this for the last 6 years and just seeing how, yeah, there are very extreme examples of it. And then there are more benign examples of it that have become normal in our life. For example, there are pieces of music that are incredibly well done. They might be beautiful. They might have a lot of, merit in their musicality, in the creativity, originality. Hello, Mr. 10th Man 36. Nice to see you. Welcome here. And in this example, the words in the background might be entirely unhelpful. They could be more benign, where it's just reminding you that, you don't have the girl you want, or you don't have the money you want, or you're like, need to cry in your blues like a cowboy or something like that. Or it can be much more sinister than that. I when I do road trips with my son, I listen to his music. And I don't force him to listen to my music. I barely have any music I want to listen to, even other than my own these days. I'm open to it, though. Send me music. If you're in the House of Free Will, we have a music chat there, and it's good to share. You don't listen to music anymore. I know it's weird, because why? I don't know about you, Jackie, but it's because of all of the programming in there, and I'm sick of it. I don't want their brainworms in my head, and because there is a certain kind of manipulation going on, and it's that beautiful music and then the shitty message, which might be outright destructive in the case of my son's music. I mean, he's become a very good person, so I've really had to just step back and not manage him, and for sure not to try to control the fact that he loves metal music. But he loves it not because he's a headbanger. He hates headbangers. He doesn't want, it doesn't look like a headbanger. He doesn't want to hang around the headbangers. He's looking for the musical precision that often can be found in that genre. And so then, but if you listen to the lyrics, they don't even try to pretend that they're nice, or there's no sugar coating around it. It's outright, recommending you kill yourself, or just like the deepest, the darkest, the most violent. This can be, and there's stuff that's out of his scope too. Like he says, "Oh, I just can't listen to that," which I'm very happy. He's got some limits around it. And then so yeah, they pair, is what I was going to say quickly. They pair these two stimulus, that like the beauty that we're attracted to and the horror that we have an aversion to. Well, that attraction and that aversion, turns out they really are the same mechanism in the psyche. One is grasping at, and the other is pushing away. But they're the same action. You don't know that until you actually observe it. And so in this push-pull, where we're attracted to the thing that we like and we have an aversion to the thing we don't like, our psyche has a split. That's the trauma-based mind control. And so what in that split, we pair the two things. We pair up the, say the pleasure and the enjoyment of the music with the horror of the message. And so that becomes embedded in consciousness. So even the most normal music can do that to you. Or like I used to really love listening to YouTube, but I learned that the guy's like really severe pedophile. So that's paired up in there, even if the message isn't about it, although there is one album that makes it kind of blatantly obvious on the art. And that pair, I don't want that pair in my head. I don't want that confusion. I don't want to have to be sorting that out and detoxing that over and over, because that's what you do with music. You listen over and over and over. So I'm kind of over it, and I'm looking forward to getting back into playing when my finger heals more. Getting just been singing along with myself. You're nodding with you. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Jackie, you trained in hypnosis and NLP years ago, so you can see it. Right, exactly. When you pull back that curtain, that can be really messy. And yeah, brainworms. That's how I feel them, because I can I can just be in a store, and then they play some song from my earlier years, and I knew the words. That's the downfall right there. I knew the words, so my head starts to sing the song, and next thing you know, I'll wake up the next morning, and I still got the stupid song in my head, and I only heard it for 15 seconds walking in and out of a store. So that that's how wormy they are. They just like drill in and they stay for a while. And I literally have to do things to knock it out. Usually it's my own music, because I have 4 albums worth of brainworms, but they're good brainworms for me anyway. They're very good. They're positive, they're good messages. They make me remember the right things, who I actually am. And yeah, we go in and out of hypnosis all day long. Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't remember the lyrics, you're good. I blocked a lot of lyrics from my mind or mangled them. We have a certain innocent nature to us, for sure, myself, where somebody can be giving me a really negative message, whether it's coming through music or anything, and I will actively not hear it. I will mangle it into something that's not so bad, or at least meaningless. I've seen myself do that a bunch with lyrics over the years. All right. Yeah. So trauma-based mind control. It's a really very real thing, and it's good to watch out for, good to be aware of, and not to let yourself be at the mercy of all the wrong brainworms. In that one example, I'm sure there's many, many more. Let's see. I want to talk about nostalgia, which is a kind of memory-based experience where we have past experiences. I admit I've never been that vulnerable to nostalgia, but I am more so now, for sure. Like I said, nostalgia about the old airports when they used to be nice and easy and casual, and didn't have to take your shoes off and go through like a humiliation ritual just to get somewhere, have somebody paw you from head to toe. Yeah, exactly. That I was just thinking that exact thing, Jackie. That the media, it's absolutely full of it, and the more multi the media is, the more avenues they have towards your sensual memory, and being able to like stick and I'll use the word park in your consciousness with those things. So yeah, they're really good to find and take out, or just not put in. That's Garrett's philosophy. If you don't put poison in, you don't have to detox it, right? That doesn't mean that I won't be vulnerable to that. I'm not judging it. There are times when I want to watch a movie. I'm always looking for a good movie for when I really just, I don't want to go to sleep, but I don't want to create anything. And I my eyes are tired maybe, and reading a book wouldn't really would be good. And I don't want to be in total silence anymore, although I do that a lot. And then back to nostalgia. Yeah, so nostalgia for the past, and it's easy to want that, how simple things used to be. I'm kind of nostalgic about the old internet. You guys can share with me what you might be nostalgic about, like the old internet, where when it first started, it was based on what they call organic, not algorithms, but organic traffic is say a technical term for that. That if you made a post and people would see your post, they would just show the people that you were connected to your post. They would just show them. What a concept! They just show you, and then if it was a good post, if it was thoughtful or helpful or entertaining or whatever the qualities that you measure the standard by, or whatever your standard is, then you would give it some love. You would give it some attention. You might make a comment on it because why? It inspired you organically to do that. Well, those days are completely lost. We all know we're dealing with algorithms. We're being steered in certain directions. If I turn on X, all I'm going to get is doom. It makes me turn away from it. I guess that's one of the effects they want to have. Or, if I'm stuck in there, I have to go looking for people. And even the people that I like there on X can be quite negative, I think, because of the environment. And so I'm nostalgic for the old internet. And, could we ever have that again? Probably not. It's gone. Let it go, Beth. Let it go. And then another thing that people don't realize is that they have nostalgia for the future. So what do you guys think that is? What would you call nostalgia for the future? I'm looking for one word. It has 4 letters. It's not a bad word. And social conditioning, the vulnerable. Absolutely. Absolutely true. So can you think of a 4-letter word that would mean, it's like we're doing a crossword today, that would mean nostalgia for the future? This is a really good one. And it speaks to, yep, you got it, Jackie. You got it. It's a hope. It's a hope. And it's a hopium, right? Hopium is terrible disease. It's very addictive. And so we project the past that we wanted onto the future. And, so this is tricky because I'm really getting into the unpacking of visioning, right? So what's the difference between hopium and a vision? I'm not gonna try to do justice to that right now. That right there probably is the crux of something, and I'm gonna go back to that. But yeah, the projection of those meaningful memories, and I was gonna just put it out to, right, what is the difference between meaningful memories versus meaningless memories? Because sometimes my memory is serving me things that is just like, why did I remember that? What could possibly be the use of it? Do they, does it maybe hold significance that I'm not aware of? But it seems to be utterly chargeless, and it's just like junk in the memory bank that you want to, that you don't even really need to clear out because it's not, it's neither here nor there. It's not really full of meaning and anything. It's just junk. Who knows? And where is that junk located? So let's talk about this first. Is the junk actually located in your brain, or is there just an impression of the junk in your brain? So maybe there's no actual substance to memories. It's just the impression in that wax-like substance of your consciousness. And let's see. Yeah, hope is relying on an outside source for what you want, as opposed to vision coming from inside of us. Right. That could very well be a big crux of it. But the hope could also be internal, I think. And maybe it's clearing toxins. I forgot what that might be related to, Jackie. Oh, as in toxic thoughts. Well, that would be nice. Like if you had a toxic thought and it was gone, like you had it and it was gone, that'd be great. But what did toxic thoughts usually do? Much more so is they recirculate, just like toxic bile in the intrahepatic system. It recirculates. Trying to get your attention, because the toxic thought coming up is exactly that. It has hopes, speaking of hope, for getting your attention. And it's not that easy to get our attention from ourselves. You think that would be a given? You think that would be the easiest thing in the world? But it's not. It's not. Just why? Because our attention is turned in so many different directions and required for a lot of things. And yes, that's the hope, so that a toxic thought could come up. You could recognize it. You could drill down, what are the feelings around it? What are the programs that actually anchor and hold that in the unconscious, and make it a like a static, inert part that requires energy in order to maintain. But yeah, unfortunately, the toxic thoughts, if you just see the toxic thoughts. It's good that you see them. Many people don't even see or notice their toxic thoughts. So that's a step ahead if you notice them, but they don't go away. And if you try to wrestle with the thoughts, that's just suppressing them. That's putting them off for another day and trying to pretend that you don't have toxic thoughts so you don't have to maybe think badly about yourself. And then memories could also very much be in the water of our bodies, which is a huge part of the research that has Veda Austin that she's been doing, that has been extremely popularly shared around the truth circles. And yeah, memory and water, absolutely, Maya, absolutely. That would have been a dote for me after the live stream if that didn't get said. So thank you. Yeah, memories in the water element, absolutely. You got it. Yeah. So now it's interesting. They would say this memory, or this water would have no memory and no structure. This is where it starts to go a little bit off, because this is distilled water. It has no memory, except when you think about it, in reality, this water is now listening to me speak. It's hearing the tone of my voice. When it was being distilled, it heard that machine that you might hear sometimes. It was privy to all of the vibrations in my environment, whatever I was putting out for myself or from my media or whatever. So in a way, is there really such thing as unstructured water? I don't think so. That would go a little bit deeper into that. And they're like, oh, unstructured water is bad, and you need to add this to it in order for your body to recognize it. Well, I've had no problem whatsoever having my body recognize this pure water that might have vibration stored in it, but it doesn't have any minerals in an actual way. So that's just an aside. But yes, to the water and the memories, absolutely. And that close link with the emotions, which is also a water element. As far as storage goes, also, this was something that someone reminded me in the chat from the last episode, the Remember One, and that's about the nature of the Aakaashik record. So I love the word Aakash. Does anybody know what that means? Give me just 1 second while you guys are answering. I'll be right back with you. I'm a girl. I don't like to blow my nose on camera. I notice Garrett does that all the time. I don't judge him, but I'm a girl. And so, yeah, the word Aakash, it is, I'll say, one of the elements that is in the Vedic system. So it is a word. I actually named my son. His second name is Aakash, and it's one of the elements. Which of the elements do you think it is? Now that I've given you a fair amount of detail, and you guys can start guessing at the 5. Now that's in this system. Yep, you got it, Mary. You got it. See, you tapped right into the Akash, and you pulled out the ether. So interesting. It doesn't mean that there isn't a light element. Sorry for the sirens. Those are normal around here because I live across the street from a first responder. There, it's going in the distance now. So it doesn't mean that there aren't other elements at play. But the Akash is the ether. You could also call it space. In India, they would use the word space, where I studied, as a name for the Akash. It's that invisible place. It is where it is in fact where sound takes place. So sound and light not being an element, is light in the ether? That's possible. I'd have to look into that a little closer. But so there is the hypothesis that the memories actually lay in the Akashic record, being the etheric record. And the word Akash meaning ether. And it's the holdings of the intangible, the invisible forms, the bodies that don't have a form we can sense with our eyes and our ears necessarily, although sound, obviously you can, but they're still subtle. They're more removed from our gross senses, that it's more subtly sensed. You could call them seed energies also that live in the Akash. And some would say that it's all there for the download, that this is, we have, we can literally just reach into the Akash. Was the name of Catcher in the Rye's main character Holden in the Akash? And I just reached out with the help of some MSG giving me greater capacity, and I reached into the Akash and I grabbed that name. But had I never read that book or known about that book or that character, would I be able to reach into the Akash and get it? Maybe. It's possible. I don't practice doing that. I believe practicing would help. But this is a story I'd like to share. Forgive me if you've heard it before, because you've heard me talk before. But there was a little exchange. I believe it was Prince saying that when he was alive, he would have to sometimes wake up his sound crew in the middle of the night to record a song that just came to him. And the reporter asked him, well, why don't you just wait till the morning? And he said, if I wait till the morning, then Michael Jackson will have already written and recorded it, that it was in the ethers and it came through him. Now, as if you are a creator, you will likely be aware of this. We're in the realm of the alchemist here, by the way, if you don't know the archetype that this is definitely pointing towards, because that ether element is one that the alchemist has the subtlety of consciousness in order to explore. It's not, again, available to the gross senses. It's available to the much more subtle senses. And thanks for that, love, Mary. I appreciate love. And so the Akash, the things are in there, and this creating something out of nothing is the alchemist's way. And is it a kind of remembering when you pull something out of the ether that would be new? We'll call it new. Is there anything new under the sun? They say no, nothing new under the sun. So it is a kind of remembering. And this is very alchemist as well, because one of the jobs of the alchemist is to take the dismembered pieces and show their wholeness. Some would say put them back together, but really it's just revealing the wholeness, that the split is not actually in reality true, that oneness is actually in reality true, but that we have the experience of the split, and then this, pulling from the ethers and just downloading. I have a lot of experience of that, a lot of experience of downloading. And it's usually when you're doing nothing and you're not trying to download, and you're just open and you're available, and your consciousness isn't too busy, needing all of the skills and faculties of your mentation kind of thing. And I'll do this often in the evenings, where maybe I'm just cleaning the kitchen a little bit, or I'm just walking around, I'm just moving my body like we talked about at the beginning, and I will just open my consciousness, not with the hope, of downloading, but I'm just open, and I'm available. If there's anything to come through, it often does come through at the same time. So and that's, I used to use this example. I don't know if you guys think DNA is fake and gay. It might be, and it might not be. I don't know. But apparently it was discovered in two different parts of the world at the same time, and could not have been thought of. It was pulled from the ethers. Hello, Miss Sarah from Raging Tomato. So nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. People want to go up and watch our live stream. I really enjoyed that conversation on my channel, and I enjoyed the one on your channel as well. One of the better interviews that's been done of me. And so the Akashic record, it's there, it's available. Is it the ultimate truth of it, or is it just our way to have describe the indescribable? And you think it's the water of the memory of water in the blood. Yeah, interesting. I'm sure the blood holds a great deal of memory. We've been looking a little bit at Cain and Abel. That doesn't mean I'm religious, by the way. In the House of Free Will, author Mark Archer and I were discussing that in a couple of different snippet episodes, which is the private podcast in the House of Free Will. And when Cain killed Abel, his blood cried out from the earth. And then so that kind of points to what you're talking about, the memory in the water of blood. So yeah. And then, oh, interesting. And then that's what you think is might be the DNA. Yeah, fascinating. Rather than the what is it? Ribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. I haven't said that in a long time. See that? Why is that in there? Who knows? MSG. All right, so that's I know the Akashic record. That's not even scratching the surface or doing justice to that massive subject, but we'll leave it for now because I've been on for a while. And let's see, let's talk about past lives. Past lives are something that people discuss all the time. Was it Cowan that debunked the DNA hypothesis? Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Cowan's got some issues, say personally. But whatever, it's another subject. And yeah, so past lives. Do you guys think there is such thing as past lives? And what do you base that on? Who has past life memories? Does anyone have something where they actually just know it's a past life memory? I was, for example, in India in my early days. I don't know which of my 8 trips it was, but I had lots of psychedelic dreams when I was there. The work was so deep and so intense. And I had a dream that made something of my whole life make sense. I don't even know how I relate to it right now, but I do have a memory of it. And so I had a dream of being, okay, I have to back up a little bit, that there was every single time I would come across native drums and music, and especially the chanting, not maybe recorded music, but it would be, when you were in a ceremony of some kind, or a sweat, or some kind of event that is somewhat accessible. Like we live in Native American country here. And every time I would hear that traditional music, I would start to cry. There was something that went just so deep inside me, and I would just cry. And I made it mean that this was maybe a past life memory of me being persecuted in that context. And that's why there was just so much pain and so much sorrow around it, that I would always cry. It would move me to tears. So I made it mean that. And then when I was in India and I had this psychedelic dream, the dream told me I wasn't being persecuted. I was the persecutor. And that's what all that pain was about. So that was fascinating to see that myself on the more the side of the one that was raping and pillaging. Well, I don't know about the raping part, but doing all the wrongs, let's say. So that was kind of fascinating, and I was very convinced it was a past life memory that made something my the rest of my life make sense. And fun fact, your name is Diane. Good to know, Mary. Keep calling you Mary. Not sure why YouTube uses that name, but that's good to know. Use Mary when you talk about your son Jesus. True story, when he was nicknamed Jesus in a school as he had long curly dark hair. There you go. Yeah, lots of Jesus kids out there are looking like it. And as a young child, you used to say "mom" when I was a little boy. Fascinating, right? Yeah, I think children give all kinds of clues to possible past life memories. And yeah, so it's hard to prove. Reincarnation is pretty hard to prove. Here's another past life memory that I have. And it is just before this. This was something that I saw on what I thought was my deathbed, when I was really in a liminal place between the worlds. And I saw that if I gave up and died in that moment, if I died, not gave up, it wasn't a question of struggle anymore. It was way beyond my will. But I knew that if I did die at that time, that I would just have to come back and start all over again on the same project. I knew that. It revealed to me there's no getting out of sacred purpose. One of the major life lessons that I've been through. And I had a flash vision of a memory of, it was like I was hovering, and for a moment I saw that I had the choice to enter into this world again with the memory of this world, about how weird it is, about how intense it is, about how stupid it can be, how much pain and suffering there is. And that's not all, of course. That I only named the intense things that could easily make me decide to not come back again. And then in this memory, I saw everything. I saw myself. I knew who I was, and I said, "I'm going in again." And then that was it. The memory closed, but I have that. I'm going in again. Those were the words that I used. So that kind of points towards some kind of past life thing, where we come back and keep up the good fight and stand up for the right things and speak the truth. Do satsang. That's one of my favorite words, keeping the company of truth, which I consider this to be. So thank you for coming for that. It's more fun with people. We don't start a blank slate when we're born. We come with stuff, right? My son came with a sense of humor. He didn't get that from me. Maybe he did. I don't know. But he was a little comedian, and it's part of his nature. He's got that archetypal comedian kind of a thing going on. And there's things that we know as children we shouldn't know, and it's just we don't have any basis for having learned that certain kinds of wisdom, whatever it is. And hello, quietly content Baron. Really nice to see you. Glad you're here. I am just starting to come to the end. My gosh, this has gone quickly. Almost 2 hours I've been here. And, some people would say like that we come in with data. Some would call that karma. Karma really in Sanskrit, it just means action, and the accumulated actions and the result of the accumulated actions that might disappear. That's one of the definitions of a realized, totally free being, is that when they run their hand through the sand, it doesn't make any marks. So their actions don't produce what we call to be karma. They don't produce the energetic memories that might be the drain on the life force, the programmed drain. So maybe that's exactly what's missing when they run their hand through the sand or the water. It doesn't make a ripple. They can still have that action, but that's one of the glimpses that I've had into that, utter freedom where action begets itself, that it's just flowing, it's just doing. This is part of what we're going to explore in January in Creator Code, and this, what pure vision is that would lead to a more pure action compared to the thinking of and the muscling and the efforting and all of that kind of thing. Hello, Genevieve, Michelle, nice to see you. You'll have to catch most of this on the recording, but I'm glad you could make it. Looks like this is getting out a little bit, and that's really nice. So yeah, the past lives, that makes the inner life kind of weird to sort out. People would ask my guru on the mountain about past lives, and his answer was actually super responsible. I can't recommend him. He had a lot of problems, including pedophilia. And but he had a very wise answer to this. And he said that don't focus on your past lives. Don't try to have memories. Don't use past life regression as a way to go and dig up. Past life regression, by the way, is just your current memories in this lifetime. But if you try to go digging in past lives, you're off point. And he would say things like, don't you have enough to deal with in this life? You got enough. If you deal with all of that, then go and try to deal with some past life stuff and all of the grandeur around it, like, oh, I used to be a queen, or I used to be someone really special, and all this, like, I'm not special now, so I'm compensating, trying to make up for the fact that I'm not special. Who knows? All of that. It gets into a lot of woo-woo that I don't really want to go there, but there's something. So I am curious if you're hearing this in the chat right now, or you're hearing this as a recording later and you want to leave me, if you have any past life memories that you know are bona fide memories that you experience in that way, then that would be cool to hear about it. We, of course, do have cellular memories. We talked about muscle memory, cellular memory, maybe back more to DNA. The memory that Jackie was saying is the of the water, but both Maya and Jackie were talking about the memory of the water. I had a recent experience of cellular memory when I had a birthday dinner with my sister, and I don't see her more than once or twice a year at the most. And as we were talking, there was so much DNA kind of syncing. If it's DNA, I don't know, but there was something was syncing with us that I can have conversations with close friends, other people that I'm not related to, and I don't have this, but somehow in that we share something substantial together, and that was felt. It was so, and I know we both felt it, though I doubt either of us could have articulated it, but there was just this cellular memory, like, oh, you're one of me, we're related, we're the same. I know that when I got sick with cancer, it was definitely some ancestral memory was coming through there, because I had a lot of visions. I had memories that I couldn't have in that case. Now, I knew some of the stories of the persecution that my ancestors went through, how many of them didn't survive. My great grandmother was, attacked and murdered, and never to be seen again, and created a lot of ripple effect, let's say, through the family that did survive. And I definitely felt like I had their ancestral memory of the horrors. I literally went through, in the healing process from that lymphoma, I went through the horrors of their experience and came out of it the other side with much more awakened awareness and health. And so ancestral memory, to me, that is a real thing. They talk about the bones of ancestors and how, you want to be close to the bones of your ancestors. Why? Because they're still transmitting information to us, and we still need that. That's why they whatever. But, we've ended up being remote from our ancestors' bones. They're not in most people's backyards. Like, right? That's like, I think it might even be illegal to bury the remains of a body in your backyard. I think that is, in fact, illegal in cities, and they're relegated off to some cemetery, which is not where you are and where the rest of the family is. There probably was a day where the family's farm is exactly where you buried the bodies, or out in a, close by forest or something like that. I know that relics are pieces of different saints, and they make sure that their bones don't end up together. They end up in different locations, in different cathedrals and different structures. And someone was hypothesizing that that's so that they can't have any coherence, because with all those bones together, they might make a much more meaningful transmission to the people. So is that why they, those gory Satanists moving bones around and stuff like that? So yeah, that's about past lives. I don't know if there's anything more you guys want to talk about there, but yeah, if just in case life wasn't psychedelic enough, you got to throw in some past life stuff. And never mind multidimensionality, which we did actually talk about. So I'll leave that for now. And no worries about the Jesus comment. Absolutely. I got it. Your attempt at humor. Yeah. Mother Mary of Jesus. No problem whatsoever. And so, yeah, I think the last thing I was going to talk about is maybe the difference between memory and revelation. Maybe that would have been part of the discussion about the Aakaashik records as well, the etheric records. And so when we remember something, it is different than when we have a revelation. But is it really different? Is it really something unique, or maybe just the same thing at a higher frequency or volume level, louder level? There's a difference between something that is remembered and something that is heard and revealed. They have, like, for example, in Sanskrit, I believe the word is shruti, and that is the revealed and heard knowledge, kind of like when you're just an open vessel I was describing, and then something comes through. So that's, that's more of a revelation, but it could be on just a scale from that faculty of memory. It's also very possible that, it was when we were doing the astrology reading yesterday, Topher was talking about how different houses have different kind of things. So like, if I'm getting this correct, the ninth house compared to the third house that it opposes, the third house is much more of a mundane kind of reality, and then the ninth house is going to be more of the etheric, the spiritual, the higher mind, the loftier side of that. I tend to live more over there than I do in the third house, for sure, and I can miss the details of the third house. As a result, can be important details. And wisdom earned sometimes feels like old knowledge that had been lost. Yeah, you got it. Exactly. And taking knowledge and turning it into wisdom, that's a totally different thing. You see a lot of young people with a lot of knowledge, and that's like, it's good, but it's dangerous, especially in the health arena. I think you've heard me say I'm not going to take health advice from a young person again. They haven't been through enough of it to know. So Garrett's like the youngest person I'd be listening to about health, and he probably has some interesting experiences ahead of him, and maybe not, because he's really prepared himself not to as well. So back to Revelation to see if there's anything more. Again, we're into the alchemist work of the and being in the ethers element. Here's one last thing I'll talk about is tracking of not just memories, but tracking of the rememberer, tracking the tracker. So I noticed that with memories, how there's this function, and this is me. I'm a self-employed person, right? So I'm responsible. If I don't remember, no one's going to remind me. If I don't follow through, then there's nobody sitting there wagging their finger at me. There's nobody withholding. Hello, Topher. I've been talking about our reading yesterday. It was so fantastic. Great to have you here. I really enjoyed it. I got some good gems I was going to tell you about. And so, yeah, I was watching myself tracking my own memory or scanning my own memory and looking like, did I forget something? That's usually the thing that, we're afraid to forget, and how much I actually keep in my memory is staggering. It really is. But of course, it does fail, and I need to resort to writing things down and keeping things on my calendar big time. I'm actually really religious about my calendar, because otherwise it's useless. If I think I'm going to remember, I even have to put the personal things in the calendar, just because there's a volume I can't hold in my head. And then, so I've been watching, this is all to say, I've been tracking the tracker. So it's one thing to just observe myself, noticing that I'm always scanning the memories. And then, but who's that tracker that could track the tracker that tracks the tracker? Right now we're in the house of mirrors. And it's pretty fun, because it might sound just like words that make no sense, like I'm doing word salad here. But I do encourage you guys, maybe I'll leave you with this exercise, to try to track the tracker, whatever you're tracking. It could be memories, could be sense experiences, could be information, could be like we're trackers. We're as beings that have our more, say, primitive side to us that is really based in survival. Then many people are tracking for danger. So a lot of people got huge skills in that arena, because they didn't have a very good childhood. They were in some danger, they were neglected, or they were in volatile environments, and so that made their tracking very amplified, and the skill of that to be very strong. Kind of sad, but it's a gift nonetheless. So to some degree, I do have a strong tracker. And so if you track the tracker and see if you can track the tracker and track the tracker, see what happens. And we'll talk about it next week. If you have any feedback about that. And is that what that means? Vedanta Advaita? Or that is that just the source of that, which at the end of the day, all the sources start to blur for me, but that was definitely one of my sources. So no doubt I picked it up there. You're the fourth wall. Interesting. Well, maybe I'll have to have you on for another live stream to talk about that, or a House of Free Will workshop to get into the weeds. I do like being in the weeds of the fine points of consciousness and the psyche. It is getting more psychedelic. I'm doing less psychedelics, like none, but it's getting more psychedelic. And it's kind of fun, because otherwise it can seem like nothing's going on when there's a whole lot happening. Track and capture. Yeah, track and capture. Exactly. Yeah, but if you can track and not capture, and just track the tracker and see what happens. It's not what you think. It's not what you expect. It's good fun. You could do it all day. All right. So I think we have come to the end of the information that I wanted to talk about today. I think I got through it all. I didn't really go deep into Mandela effect. I don't know what to do with that one. It's just see if there's anything else. Oh, shoot, there is more. Okay, I'm going to finish this, because otherwise I'll have to be remember 3. This is one of the really beautiful functions of being alive, is to remind each other, right? That's our role in each other's lives, is to remind each other of the who they are. That's like the ultimate memory that you can have, is who you actually are. It's the last memory we tend to have, because all of the other data is more obvious than that to the senses, whereas who you are is the most subtle aspect of yourself, and where you are connected to every other subtle aspect of life itself. And so I think that is our purpose, is to remind each other. It's why I do what I do, not just to remind each other, but so they turn around and remind me to know who I am. And so this is good. And we might not be able to do it without each other. We are not meant to live an isolated life. It's why I like to gather communities, why the invitation to the House of Free Will application is open. And you can find that in the notes below, not the notes below this one. I've started just linking up, but you can find my website and the King Hero Archetype quiz. If you haven't done that quiz, you can go and remember who you are with respect to the patterns of the archetypes, which is always revealing. There's 10 videos for each of the archetypes. But yeah, our role in reminding each other, we do that in 2 ways. One is positively, meaning, we reflect something good back to someone, not to blow smoke up their butt, but to just reflect it. And especially when they don't see it, it's really amazing to reflect that. Someone might think that something they're doing is a curse, and you can remind them how it's a gift, like we're talking about the tracking kind of gift. And then we also remind each other through negative experiences, through the things we don't want, through the interactions you'd rather not actually have had. And they create a reverberation. They give you the opportunity to bring up probably memories from this life or whatever life. They will invite you to work through them, to let them go, like Jackie talked about earlier, to actually go the distance and heal from what ails you. So whether our company is of our liking or not, I do recommend good company. It is a very, very important factor in your growth. It's much bigger than nearly any factor of any kind. But whether people remind us positively or negatively, it's still of immense value. And this is really a huge purpose of what we're here to do. Ideally, it is some kind of satsang, speaking the truth. Sat means truth. We talk a lot about the truth, but people don't really love the truth. And when it turns out at the heart and the soul of it, they like knowing the lies, but that's only one small, shallow aspect of it. Speaking what's real and true with integrity. We're talking the lover archetype here, by the way, in that love for the truth and our reminder of each other, using the memory to remind one another. And you remember who you were as a child. Everything seemed to make more sense. I'm assuming seemed to make more sense then, or it makes more sense now, Mike. Maybe it makes more sense now. That's probably the case, because things don't make really sense to children. yeah, our purpose to remind each other of the truth. That's a major thing. And there was this point kind of got lost somehow, is the way that we remember each other. I did talk about the last time in my last video how we have, there's two deaths. The first death is when your body passes. The second death is the last time that somebody says your name, the last time somebody remembers you, or, remembers you enough to say the name out loud. And so this is on the heels of that when we remember the other, whether they're in the flesh still or they have already passed, what are we doing? We think we're remembering them, but it's not actually like that. If you get really close and put that under a microscope, you're going to see that your memory of them is actually an identification process. You are identifying them with your thoughts and with your feelings, and unfortunately with the programming underneath all of that is fear-based. And so that identification ends up being an experience inside yourself. This is a very beautiful thing if you are in that position to be able to see, how do you identify people with your own internal experience? And is that working for you? Is it life-giving? Is it actually helping you in your life, or does it drain you and turn into something that you need to suppress and get away from? Then that's not working for you. So yeah, that's a kind of a big subject. And so yeah, that we think we're remembering that person, but we're actually recalling our own data with them that is maybe creating the relationship, that is the level that relationships take place at. Maybe we do have the potential to have much more pure relationships that are not based on the projection of identification of our own data, where that intersection and that meeting and that co-creation of a shared experience actually meet. I think we're yet to see a great deal of the evolution potential of that. That's a lot of words, boy. Okay, well, I think I did it now. Oh, shit, there's one last one. Okay. I keep promising to leave you with something. So this was the last thing, just so I don't have to do remember 3. Okay, you guys, is that in order to remember something, it must first be forgotten. Is this true or is this false? And you don't know you forgot something until you remember, is often the case. So here's one example. You guys can take this for reflecting in addition to the other things I mentioned. Is when I have a dream about, I'm usually in some kind of a pickle and I need to get away, right? So that's a lot of, especially childhood dreams were like that. Not so much anymore. At least I'm not remembering those ones. And this is, I have had this experience so many times where I'm in a pickle and then I have this sudden memory. Oh, I can fly. I forgot I can fly. I don't need to just run with my little legs or whatever way. I can actually just, I'm out of here, right? I can just fly. And it's this every single time it is remembering that I forgot I could fly. So yeah. That's all the fun that I had with memory. I'm sure as soon as I get off this live stream, I'm going to remember some important points, but we can use the comment section of the videos to explore anything more. And I'll be back again next week, same time, November 28, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Remember or remind. I lost the context. Mike's laughing. That's good. And yeah, so I think that's it for now. I believe we'll leave it at that. So lots of love to you guys. I am in the process of creating a new extra, but in the meantime, I have the older one all ready and queued up and ready to go. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. It's been fantastic. If you want to connect with me, you can do that at bethmartins.com. And I will see you guys soon.